4 things. That is all you need to track: land value, economic anchor, rental ceiling, build age risk. Every round, one state scores a point. At the end, there is a winner, and I'm going to tell you exactly who should not listen to that verdict. $55,000. That is a real number. That is a real house, and it is in Tennessee, and I'm going to make you wait for it. $100,000. 2 states, 12 properties. The same question on every single one. What does this state actually give you for your money? Georgia and Tennessee are not the same bet. They are not even close to the same bet. The people who think they are picking between 2 versions of the same thing are the people who end up buying the wrong one. Here's how we settled this. 6 rounds. Georgia goes first, Tennessee answers. 4 criteria, 1 scorecard. Let's fight. Round 1. Land value. House 1, Tennille, Georgia, $99,000. 4.71 acres. Say that again. For $99,000 in Washington County, Georgia, you are getting nearly 5 acres of land attached to a 3-bedroom house that has been standing since 1920. Most of the time when you see acreage attached to a cheap house, it's either wetland, wooded land, land with no road access, or land that is technically part of the parcel but practically worthless. So the first job with this one is to verify every inch of that property. You want to know what is usable, what the road frontage looks like, whether any of it is in a flood zone, and what the zoning allows. Because here's where this gets interesting. If that land is genuinely usable, if you can fence it, farm it, build on it, run animals on it, or just own it without it turning into a swamp 6 months of the year, then this is not really a house deal. This is a land deal with a house on it. Now be clear about Tennille itself. Median household income in this town is around $29,000. That is a real number, and it matters because it puts a ceiling on what rent this market will support. You're not pulling $1,200 a month out of this property. You're probably looking at somewhere in the $600 to $800 range for a renovated 3-bedroom, assuming the house is in solid condition after the rehab. Budget $15,000 to $30,000 for work on a 1920 build before you commit to those numbers. Verify the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing, and whether there is any active termite damage, because at this age and in this climate, you're going to find something. The play here is not cash flow. The play is land at a price that is almost impossible to find this close to the Southeast Corridor. House 2, Huntington, Tennessee, $94,900. Tennessee answers immediately, and it answers with a gut punch. 4.9 acres, under $100,000, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house built in 2001, meaning it was constructed in this century, not the last one, and the asking price is $94,900. Now here's where you slow down, because one word in that listing changes everything: foreclosure. Foreclosure is not automatically bad, but it does mean you need to approach this differently than a standard listing. You need to know whether this is cash only, whether inspection access will be granted, whether utilities are on, whether there are any redemption rights lingering on the title, whether there is or was someone occupying it who may not want to leave. These are not hypotheticals. These are standard foreclosure realities, and every one of them can turn a good-looking deal into a problem you didn't see coming. If this one passes that checklist, if title is clean, if you can get inside, if it's not gutted, then you're looking at something genuinely rare. A 2001 build, 3-2 layout, nearly 5 acres, under $100,000 in a Carroll County market where median household income is almost $52,000. That income number is a real anchor. It means real renters with real jobs exist in this area. Huntington is not a forgotten ghost town. It's a functional small city with services, schools, and an employment base. The foreclosure is the risk. The numbers are the opportunity. You have to verify which one is actually running the show on this specific property. Round 1, edge goes to Tennessee. More land, newer build, stronger income base. Georgia's acreage is real, but the income ceiling is half of Tennessee's. Tennessee leads 1-0. Round 2. Economic Anchor. House 3, Cusseta, Georgia, $108,000. Yes, this is slightly above the $100K ceiling, including it because the Fort Moore economic anchor story is too strong to leave out. This is the Georgia property that doesn't look like the others, and the reason it doesn't look like the others is Fort Moore. Cusseta sits in Chattahoochee County, right in the orbit of what used to be Fort Benning, and that military presence creates a rental and resale dynamic that most rural Georgia markets simply don't have. When you have a major military installation nearby, you have constant turnover. Service members rotating in, rotating out, needing housing, needing rentals, not wanting to be stuck in a hotel. That's demand you can actually count on. Now look at the numbers. Chattahoochee County median household income is $61,000. The poverty rate is 13.9%. Those aren't small-town Georgia numbers. Those are numbers that reflect a population anchored by military and government employment, more stable, more predictable, and more valuable as a rental market than the $30,000 income towns we just looked at. The house is a different conversation. Built around 1897, the metal roof is a real positive. It means someone invested in that roof at some point, and metal done right can last 50 years, but everything else on a structure this age gets looked at hard. Foundation, floor joists, electrical, plumbing, insulation, windows. The $12,000 price cut tells you something moved on this one. Find out what. This is the most interesting strategic position in the Georgia lineup because the market underneath it is actually strong. The house just needs to earn that market with a real inspection.
House 4, Dyersburg, Tennessee, $99,000. Dyersburg is doing something the other Tennessee markets on this list are not. It is being a real city. 16,000 people, median household income above $52,000, services, retail, employers, schools, and an actual rental market with actual depth. When you are analyzing a cheap house in a small market, the quality of the local economy is not background context, it is the deal. The house at $99,000 is only worth underwriting if the people who would rent it can afford to rent it and have reasons to stay. The property itself is workable. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,175 square feet, almost 3 acres, built in 1978. The 1 bath layout is the ceiling limiter. A 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom is a harder rent in 2026 than a 3-2. Budget for the possibility that adding a 2nd bath is part of the rehab plan because it changes both the monthly rent number and the eventual exit value. The nearly 3 acres is real utility at this price. If you can verify it is usable land, not swampy, not landlocked, not in a flood zone, then you have a property that appeals to renters who need space, work trucks, animals, privacy. That is a specific but loyal tenant profile in a rural adjacent market like this one. Dyersburg is the most conventionally understandable deal on the Tennessee lineup. It is not flashy, it is just solid if the numbers hold up on inspection. Round 2, edge goes to Georgia. Cusseta's military anchor at $61,000 median income is the strongest economic foundation on the board. Dyersburg is real, but it cannot match Fort Moore's demand stability. Georgia closes the gap, 1-1. 1 round each, the scoreboard is tied, and I told you there's a $55,000 property coming. That is not an accident. That property is going to force you to make a decision about what you actually believe cheap housing is for. Keep watching. Round 3, rental ceiling. House 5, Macon, Georgia, $100,000. Macon is the only property on the Georgia side of this list that gives you a mid-sized city, Mercer University, Navison Health, a logistics and distribution base, an actual rental market with actual depth. When I say depth, I mean multiple types of renters, students, healthcare workers, logistics employees, government workers. That diversity matters because it means you are not entirely dependent on one employer or one industry staying healthy. The property is $100,000, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, about 1,060 square feet on 1.44 acres, built in 1975. There is a front porch, a fenced yard, and a storage building on the lot, details that matter to a tenant more than the square footage number does. Zillow's Zestimate comes in around $93,000, which tells you the algorithm thinks the market will not fully support the ask. That is a negotiating data point, not a verdict. Here's the honest situation with this one. The square footage is on the smaller side. The single bath is the same limitation we saw in Dyersburg, and this specific area of Macon carries a higher poverty rate than the county average. That doesn't kill the deal, but it means you need to be standing on that block before you write a check, not looking at it on a map, standing on it, day and night. If the block is okay and the inspection comes back clean, the Macon rental market is real enough to make the numbers work. If the block is not okay, no income data in the world changes that. House 6, Greenfield, Tennessee, $79,000, 4 acres, attached garage. Let's start with what this is not. This is not a high cash flow rental. 2 bedrooms and 1 bath at 1,043 square feet is a small house. In a town of around 2,200 people, your tenant pool is limited and your rent ceiling reflects that. You are probably looking at $600 to $750 a month for a renovated 2-bedroom in this market. But here's what this actually is. This is a land play at a price point that would be laughable in almost any other part of the country. 4 acres in a clean, stable, small town with a 13.5% poverty rate. That is a stronger economic foundation than most cheap house markets at this price. Greenfield is not a distressed town. It is a quiet town with a real income base for its size. The house was built in 1944, so the usual checklist applies. Roof, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, foundation, septic, water source. The attached garage is a genuine plus, not cosmetically, but practically. Renters who need covered parking, storage, or a workspace will choose this over a house without one every single time at the same rent. The buyer for this property is not chasing maximum cash flow. The buyer is someone who understands what 4 acres in a stable small-town market is worth over 10 years. That is a different investment thesis, and it is a legitimate one. Round 3, edge goes to Georgia. Macon's rental depth is the only market on this list where multiple tenant types compete for the same property. Greenfield is a solid landhold, but it cannot match a mid-sized city rental ceiling. Georgia takes the lead, 2-1. Round 4, build age risk. House 7, Ashburn, Georgia, $95,000. Built roughly 1913, 113 years old, on Main Street in Ashburn, Turner County, and somebody is asking $95,000 for it. That Main Street location is a double-edged thing. On one hand, it gives the property a presence, a history, a character that box construction houses do not have. On the other, Main Street means traffic, visibility, and potentially zoning considerations if that corridor has any commercial overlap. Verify exactly what the zoning allows and what the neighbors are doing before you fall in love with the street address. The house is nearly 1,700 square feet on 1.8 acres. That's a solid footprint for the price. The single bath is the limiting factor. 3 bedrooms and 1 bath in 2026 is a harder sell to a quality long-term tenant than a 3-2. Budget for a bathroom addition is part of the rehab math. The nearly 3 acres is real utility at this price. Renters who need space will notice the price tag. If you can verify the rental market is workable and the inspection is not a catastrophic analysis, this property is one to work on the negotiating front. You need to be very confident about your contractors post-purchase. Any contractor who sees the age of this building and doesn't double his supply budget is either a genius or a dangerous fool. And the odds have not been kind to geniuses.
House 8, Selmer, Tennessee, $55,000.
I want you to sit with that number for a second, because everything else we have looked at in this video has been in the $79,000 to $108,000 range. And then Tennessee drops a $55,000 house into the conversation and changes the entire frame. But here is what I need you to understand about a $55,000 asking price with a $13,000 price cut in front of it. That price was $68,000 before someone lowered it, and it is sitting at $55,000 because the market has not moved on it. That tells you something. Not necessarily something catastrophic, but something. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house built in 1942 on 1 acre in McNairy County. Selmer is actually a functional small city, county seat, median income around $51,000, violent crime below the national average. The market underneath this house is not the problem. The house is, or it might be. At this price, with a significant price cut already baked in, the risk is not that you overpaid. The risk is that the inspection reveals work that makes the purchase price almost meaningless. Roof, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, foundation, septic. If all of those need attention on a 1942 structure, you are not buying a $55,000 house. You are buying a $55,000 lot with a structure on it that adds to the bill. Get inside, get an inspection. Price out every system individually, then decide. Because if this house only needs cosmetic work, it might be the most interesting math on this entire list. If it needs everything, it is a cautionary tale. Round 4. Edge goes to Tennessee. Georgia's Ashburn is carrying over a century of unknown build risk with limited income support underneath it. The Selmer price is a warning sign, but at $55,000 entry, with a functional county seat market, the risk-adjusted upside still beats a $95,000 house that's almost as old and almost as uncertain. Tennessee evens it, 2-2. Round 5. Optionality. House 9, Willacoochee, Georgia, $99,900. This one has a line in the listing that most buyers scroll past and serious investors stop on. Mobile homes allowed. That is not a casual detail. That is a potential second income play baked into the lot. If the zoning, the county rules, the utility connections, and the lot size actually support a second dwelling, and that is a significant if, then what looks like a standard 3-bed on 2 acres becomes a property with an expansion path. A second unit changes the cash flow math on a property where the rental ceiling from the main house alone is limited by local incomes. Willacoochee's median property value sits somewhere between $43,000 and $56,000. This property is listed at $99,900, well above local median. The 2 acres in the 3-2 layout are doing the heavy lifting on that price. 2 full bathrooms is not a luxury detail at this price point, it's a tenant retention feature. The screened front porch matters more than it sounds in South Georgia. Heat, bugs, outdoor living. A screened porch is a real amenity in this climate, and renters notice it. The difference between a property that sits vacant 3 months between tenants and one that gets re-rented in 3 weeks is often exactly this kind of small detail. The old home place language in the listing is a warning. Inspect this one like a hawk. Roof, floors, moisture, termites, septic, and the condition of any structure that has been sitting in South Georgia humidity without consistent maintenance. House 10, Cedar Grove, Tennessee. This is the one Tennessee property on this list that goes over budget. $110,000 is $10,000 above our stated ceiling, and I'm including it for one reason. It's the cleanest house in the entire Tennessee lineup, and the contrast is worth understanding. Built in 1989, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1 acre. No century-old foundation to worry about, no foreclosure complications, just a straightforward house built in a decade when building codes were modern and materials were standard. For investors who hear 1942 build and feel a knot in their stomach, this is what peace of mind costs in this market. About $10,000 more than the properties that come with more question marks.
Carroll County median income is around $51,000. That's a real rental market. A 3-2 in decent condition in this area is legitimately rentable. The 1-acre lot is modest compared to the land deals elsewhere on this list, but the house itself is the strongest turnkey candidate in the Tennessee group. The trade-off is the price. At $110,000, your margins compress. The rehab should be lighter, which helps, but if your strategy requires getting in under $100,000, this one does not qualify on the number. If your strategy is finding the best house for the money with the least risk, this is worth the conversation. Round 5. Edge goes to Georgia. The Willacoochee mobile home allowed expansion angle is a genuine optionality play that Cedar Grove cannot match with a single-use 1-acre lot. Georgia retakes the lead, 3-2.
Round 6. The wild card. House 11, Waycross, Georgia, $199,000. 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,512 square feet, built in 1992 on 1.53 acres for $99,000. At this point in the video, you have seen houses from 1897 and 1920. You have seen foreclosures and old home places, and then Georgia puts up a 1992 build in this century, built to modern code standards with 4 bedrooms and asks less than $100,000 for it. That combination does not happen very often. So why is this the wild card? Because Waycross requires honest context. The city-level income sits around $38,000, which is lower than most of what we have looked at today. And Waycross is a city where crime varies significantly by neighborhood. That does not mean Mockingbird Lane is a problem. It means the city-level average is not safe to use as a proxy for this specific block. You need to drive it. Run a block-level crime map on this exact address. Talk to someone who knows that neighborhood, not just someone who knows Waycross in general. If the block checks out, and it very well might, then this is arguably the best pure value on the Georgia side of this list. 4-bedroom homes built after 1990 are rare at this price anywhere in the Southeast. The layout is more rentable than anything else Georgia has shown today. A 4-bedroom in a functional small city with a verified clean block can get you $900 to $1,100 a month in rent, depending on condition. The due diligence is the deal on this one. The price, the build year, and the bedroom count are all working in your favor. The neighborhood verification is the one step that determines whether this is a great deal or a lesson. House 12, Huntsville, Tennessee. 806 square feet. Let that land. This is the smallest house on the entire list in any state, and at $69,000 on 1.4 acres in the East Tennessee Hills, it is one of the most honest properties we have looked at today. It is exactly what it is. A small, old house built in 1940 on a piece of land in Scott County with a view that you are not going to find at this price anywhere closer to a major metro. This property does not have a rental play that makes clean financial sense. The square footage is too small for a family, the 2-bed, 1-bath configuration limits the tenant pool, and the local income numbers in Huntsville are modest. This is not an investor play. What it does have is something different. East Tennessee has a quality of life appeal that doesn't show up in rental comp spreadsheets. Big South Fork is nearby. The countryside is real. For a buyer who wants low-cost foothold in the part of the country that is genuinely beautiful and increasingly noticed, $69,000 for a piece of land with a livable structure is a different kind of calculation entirely. This is a lifestyle play for someone who wants simple, cheap, and quiet and is willing to trade square footage for the things square footage cannot buy. Inspect the basics: septic, water source, roof, heating, foundation, crawl space, and verify internet access before you commit. Round 6. Edge goes to Georgia. The Waycross property, a 4-bedroom 1992 build on 1.5 acres for under $100,000, is the strongest pure value entry on the Georgia side once you clear the neighborhood question. Tennessee's Huntsville is honest, but it's a lifestyle property, not an investment. Georgia wins the wild card, 4-2. The verdict: Tennessee wins this fight, but listen to this first. 4-2 on the scorecard, Georgia wins the rounds, but here's the ruling. Tennessee wins this fight. Not because of the scoreboard, Tennessee wins because of what it gives you for the money over time. More land per dollar than Georgia at every price point we looked at. Newer construction in the properties that matter, Huntington at 2001, Cedar Grove at 1989, an income base in Huntington, Dyersburg, and Selmer that consistently sat above $50,000, which means real renters with real jobs in markets that are not entirely dependent on one employer or one weather event. And no state income tax. The last one is not in any of the property specs, but it is in the real math when you're holding something for 10 years. Tennessee wins for the land investor. Tennessee wins for the long hold buyer. Tennessee wins for the owner-occupant who wants space, newer bones, and lower carrying cost while they figure out what they want to do with the property. Here's who should not listen to that verdict. If you're building a cash-flowing rental portfolio and you want demand you can actually count on, not hope for, Georgia wins. Specifically, Caseta, where Fort Moore creates a constant rotation of tenants that no rural Tennessee market can replicate at this price point. Specifically, Macon, where a mid-sized city with a university, a hospital system, and a logistics base gives you a tenant profile that doesn't evaporate when one employer leaves town. And specifically Waycross, a 4-bedroom 1992 build on a verified clean block, is the kind of property that fills and stays filled. The investor who needs predictable, repeatable rental income doesn't care about land per dollar. They care about vacancy rates and tenant quality. Georgia's military anchor, urban infrastructure, and newer Waycross build answer that question in a way Tennessee's rural markets cannot at this price point. 12 properties, 2 states, 1 verdict with 2 answers. Tennessee for the land, Georgia for the tenant. Pick the one that fits what you're actually trying to build. Drop a comment right now, Georgia or Tennessee, and tell me which specific property made you stop and actually do the math. I read every one. And tell me what the next fight should be, Georgia versus Alabama, Tennessee versus Kentucky, or do we go further, Appalachia versus the Gulf Coast, Texas versus the entire Southeast? Whatever you want, I'll build it. Subscribe if you're not already. The next round starts soon.